Welcome. Here we're going to talk about dividing fractions. So you may have worked with this in the past and maybe you have some vague memory of it. The process of dividing by fractions is something that we call multiply by the reciprocal. Also known as copy dot flip. So you may have heard one of these two terms at some point in your life. So the process that we go through is we take the first fraction, we replace the division with a multiplication symbol, dot, and then we flip the second fraction. So instead of 2/3, I'm going to have 3/2. Once we've turned our division problem into a multiplication problem, in order to multiply fractions, I multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom. So 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 2 is 10. So that's the process that we go through in order to divide fractions. And here we have 3/10 as the final answer. Let's do another example where we introduce some whole numbers because sometimes that can trip students up. So let's do 2 divided by 1/3. We can still use this multiply by the reciprocal copy.flip rule. So I can do 2 times 3/1. That is equal to 2 times 1. So this we have to be a little bit careful maybe. The whole number 2 is the same as 2/1. So if you need to write that in order to remind yourself, that's perfectly good. And then we can multiply like we always multiply with fractions. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. So that answer is 6. What are we saying here? We're saying how many times does 1/3 go into the number 2? Well, 6 times. Let's do one more example where our second number instead is a whole number. So I'm going to draw a vertical line here to indicate I'm doing more work. Let's do 2/3 divided by 4. So here, 4 is my whole number, is my second value. So I think that if you're working this kind of problem, and I think what makes sense for a lot of students, is to basically write 4 as a fraction. You can always write any whole number over 1 in order to make it look like a fraction. That's still the same number, it just looks a little different. And then we apply our copy.flip system. So I keep my first number, 2 times 3, and then I flip the second one, so 1/4. And then again, multiply across the top. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 4 is 12. And this number can be simplified a little bit because the numerator and the denominator have a common factor. They're both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So I can simplify this down to 1/6. So that's the process of dividing fractions. I have a second video where I talk about what's actually happening when you multiply by the reciprocal if you'd like to dig into the math a little bit. But this is the actual process. This is the act that you do each time you need to divide by a fraction. Thank you so much.